From fleeting cameos to the Merc with a mouth we all know and love, Deadpool and Wolverine was filled to the brim with Wade Wilson variants, but who wins the battle of the Deadpools? Okay, so we're not really sure which Deadpool this one actually is. What we do know for certain is that during that final sequence, somewhere in the crowd is a variant known as Haroldpool, named after the stunt performer and actor who plays him, Harold Holland. And no, that last name is not a coincidence. This is indeed the younger brother of the MCU's Spider-Man himself, Tom Holland.
Hey everyone.
As fans may be aware, both Hollands are pretty athletic in real life, with the elder Tom performing many of the stunts in his own films. Harold was actually supposed to appear in a bit of stunt work even earlier in the MCU, playing the role of a thief in Spider-Man No Way Home. Though that scene was ultimately left on the cutting room floor, it seems to have connected him with stunt coordinator and second unit director George Cottle, who ended up working on Deadpool and Wolverine. One of the most eye-catching variants seen in Deadpool and Wolverine stands out due to his ghost white mask and black hood. This is Zenpool, who in the comics is actually not a variant of the character from an alternate reality, but an alter ego adopted by the Earth 616 Deadpool after the events of the Axis storyline. To make a long and very complicated story as short as possible, Axis saw various heroes and some villains join forces to stop the Red Skull from using the powers of the villain Onslaught to conquer the world. In the process, Dr. Doom and the Scarlet Witch cast a spell which unintentionally alters the personalities of several Marvel characters, Deadpool included. Now aspiring to avoid violence and conflict as much as possible, Deadpool becomes Zenpool, a vaguely Buddhist monk who goes as far as constructing a massive Zen garden in his backyard. It's certainly a choice. Near the front of the crowd when the Deadpool Corps first arrives through the portal is a Deadpool variant dressed in red vintage military wear, with two old-fashioned sword handles sticking out where katanas should normally be. This is Frederick Wilson, also known as Wheezy Wilson for the gas mask he wears at all times. He is also often referred to as the Golden Age Deadpool, so named for the comic book era generally agreed to have begun with the creation of Superman in the late 1930s and ending sometime in the early to mid-1950s.
Look, up in the sky, it's a bird!
It's a plane!
It's Superman!
On his Earth, where World War II is likely still waging in perpetuity, Wheezy is the embarrassing nephew of President Woodrow Wilson and a disastrous private in the U.S. military. He's discharged early on after clearly faking mustard gas poisoning when in reality he just smokes a ton of cigarettes, hence the constant need for a gas mask. It isn't until 1938 that he's transformed into Weapon X as part of a Nazi experiment gone wrong. Despite a unique comic book origin story, he doesn't do much in Deadpool and Wolverine, and sadly only barely stands out visually compared to his companions. The straw hat-wearing Deadpool seen during the final battle is Watari, known interchangeably as Roninpool and the Fool. This variant first appeared in the alternate universe Marvel comic book series 5 Ronin, a 5-chapter miniseries that reimagined various Marvel heroes as warriors in feudal Japan. Like many variants of Deadpool that were created for one-off stories, he was eventually revived as part of a multiversal crossover event that featured as many different Deadpools as possible. Relative to some of the other variants on this list, Watari actually gets a fair amount of screen time in Deadpool and Wolverine. After getting both of his arms cut off during the carnage, he's revived hilariously with 2 infant arms, a callback to the first Deadpool film in which Wade temporarily has a baby hand after cutting his own hand off to escape from Colossus. The high-tech Deadpool variant with a glowing suit and electrified batons is Warda Wilson, Wade Wilson's daughter and the Deadpool of the year 2099. Indeed, she exists in the same timeline as Miguel O'Hara, the Spider-Man of the 2099 universe, who serves as the secondary villain in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
You're the Blue Panther.
No.
The Caped Blue Satyr.
No, I'm...
Dark Garfield.
No, stop.
Macho Libre.
Given that we're presumably dealing with the movie multiverse and not the comic book multiverse here, you can make the argument that the cinematic Spider-Man 2099 and Deadpool 2099 hail from the same universe. But even without that connection, Warda stands above her companions for getting to flex her full power, even for a brief moment. Not to mention the viral meme going around that duped some fans of Sabrina Carpenter into thinking she played Deadpool 2099 in the movie. She didn't. Deadpool 2099 might not be a secret celebrity cameo, but plenty of other celebs do feature in Deadpool and Wolverine. The most subtle of these is arguably Welshpool, a variant of Deadpool whose costume is only slightly modified to feature the Welsh flag in some green, red, and white coloring. Welshpool is also the name of a small town in Wales, not terribly far from Wrexham, where a certain football team just so happens to be co-owned by one Ryan Reynolds. Of course, Welshpool is a cameo meant for football and welcome to Wrexham fans everywhere, with the character being played by Wrexham AFC forward Paul Mullen. Reynolds, a self-professed fan of stunt casting, involved Mullen so that he could honor the club in the MCU. Wrexham striker Ollie Palmer is also in the film, having supposedly talked his way into the background of one of the movie's bar scenes. Part of Ryan Reynolds' reasoning for involving Wrexham players in Deadpool and Wolverine is because, according to the actor, they're like his family, and he loves involving his family in his work. Of course, putting his money squarely where his mouth is, Reynolds not only cast his football family, but his actual wife and children, the youngest of whom is credited as playing the original character Babypool. Though the character seems to be at least partially animated with CGI, it sounds as though 1-year-old Olin Reynolds is the giggling voice of this character. Even if Babypool wasn't related to Reynolds, he's still one of the most distinct characters featured in the Deadpool core sequence. He even got his own novelty popcorn bucket. The other Reynolds child featured in the Deadpool core sequence is 7-year-old Inez Reynolds, who plays the pint-sized potty-mouth Kidpool. In the comics, Kidpool is a version of Deadpool raised in an orphanage run by Charles Xavier. Troublemaker that he is, he makes up for his lack of katanas by stealing 2 laser swords that are basically lightsabers in all but name.
Elegant weapon for a more civilized age.
Sadly, those weapons don't make it into Deadpool and Wolverine. This is actually kind of surprising. Ryan Reynolds and director Sean Levy featured a lightsaber as one of the franchise prop cameos in 2021's Free Guy, then went on to give Reynolds a strikingly similar weapon in their Netflix follow-up The Adam Project. And that's to say nothing of the fact that one of Levy's upcoming projects after Deadpool is an actual Star Wars movie. So the omission of the laser swords from Deadpool and Wolverine is perplexing at best, though not glaring enough to detract too much from an otherwise amusing moment in the film. Visually, Deadpool and Wolverine's gunslinging Wild West variant is clearly inspired by the Deadpool Kid, a Western variant that first appeared alongside Lady Deadpool in the 2010 comic Deadpool Merc with a Mouth. In the film, Cowboy Deadpool is given plenty of moments to shine and even gets a few lines of dialogue. And if he sounded familiar in the theater, that's because this role is a voice cameo from none other than Matthew McConaughey. At present, we don't know how the Academy Award-winning actor got involved in the movie. That said, it's no less incredible that a Hollywood A-lister who many have wanted to see play a Marvel character for years made his debut as such a bizarre character. At first glance, Headpool seems to just be a version of Deadpool missing the rest of his body. While that's the bare essentials of the story, Headpool is actually tied to the vast, complicated alternate Marvel Comics universe from Marvel Zombies. Originally a miniseries penned by The Walking Dead creator Robert Kirkman, Zombies follows the regular heroes and villains of the Marvel Universe as they fight against a virus known as the Hunger, which reduces them to sentient zombies. Headpool's unique design and function in the battle would be enough to place him in the top 10 Deadpool variants, but what really seals the deal is his voice actor, Nathan Fillion, who makes his 4th MCU appearance in Deadpool and Wolverine after playing supporting roles in all 3 Guardians of the Galaxy films. Aside from being a beloved actor in general, Fillion's scrappy performance as Headpool makes him one of the most memorable parts of the entire movie, let alone this one sequence. Kicking off the top 5 is Nicepool, an original variant of Wade Wilson created for Deadpool and Wolverine, as well as the only other one played by Ryan Reynolds. Logan and Wade first encounter Nicepool in the Void, where he offers the pair his Honda Odyssey and warns them of the dangerous Deadpool core. Nicepool then precedes the core in the final battle, presumably offering to fight on the side of the 2 heroes. Not that he gets to do very much, as Wade quickly gets him killed by using him as a human shield.
Let's give the people what they came for!
The main Deadpool has a decidedly unfair advantage in a contest like this, being the central character of all 3 films in the Deadpool franchise. This most recent installment sees the character stepping into his own as Marvel Jesus, finally a superhero capable of saving the entire multiverse. That said, perhaps our familiarity with the character is also a problem. After all, having watched Ryan Reynolds portray almost this exact character ever since 2009's X-Men Origins Wolverine, the novelty of his quipping, fourth-wall-breaking, ultra-violent personality has lost a fair bit of its novelty. Does that mean he's not a delight to watch even 15 years later? Not necessarily, but it does mean that his latest movie features a few variants who are more enjoyable to watch. Ever since she was first revealed in a trailer for the film, speculation amongst MCU fans ran rampant as to which actor could possibly be playing Lady Deadpool. In the end, one popular fan theory turned out to be correct. Lady Deadpool is, at the very least, voiced by Ryan Reynolds' real-life spouse, Blake Lively. The pair first got together after meeting on the set of one of Reynolds' early superhero disasters, 2011's Green Lantern. The two have been together ever since and have 4 children, all of whom are credited in Deadpool and Wolverine. Because Lady Deadpool never removes her mask, however, it isn't clear whether or not Lively provided anything more than the voice. We do know that her stunt double, Christiane Bettridge, was there to handle getting her face slashed by Logan mere seconds into the battle. But whether Lively got in on the action or not, the leader of the Corps fully deserves her spot as one of the movie's top 3 Deadpools. Just when it seems as though Deadpool and Wolverine will be thwarted by the undying Deadpool Corps, Peter appears to save the day. Peter's presence instantly diffuses the battle, seemingly because the rest of the Deadpools are too distracted by his awe-inspiring aura to continue fighting anymore. Peter, of course, debuted in Deadpool 2, in which he was brutally killed along with the vast majority of the X-Force.
Oh, God. I'm gonna throw up in my mask.
He was revived at the end of the film, however, by Deadpool's time-traveling antics. It's a widely held belief that Peter is a loose adaptation of the X-Men character Pete Wisdom, though given that they share almost no similarities apart from a name, loose would be putting it lightly. Either way, he's as cool a character as these movies have ever come up with, and his inclusion in Deadpool and Wolverine is very much appreciated. Last but certainly not least is Mary Poppins, aka Dogpool. This adorable hound is originally introduced as Nicepool's companion in The Void, but he later comes into Deadpool's possession after Nicepool makes his heroic sacrifice. Dogpool's aura is as strong, if not stronger, than Peter's, as the Deadpool Corps refuses to fire at Wolverine out of fear of harming the puppy. She also happens to be the most adorable Deadpool on screen. Before she was cast as Dogpool, canine actor Peggy had been awarded the title of Britain's ugliest dog. She now has an Instagram account thanks to her work in the movie with over 600,000 followers. But it's how she embodies the core tenets of Deadpool: self-acceptance, self-sufficiency, and self-love that make her the best Deadpool variant featured in Deadpool and Wolverine.